It's going on, everyone. The market marched higher yet again today, and around 83% of stocks in the S&P 500 finished in the green. In tonight's video, we're going to talk about everything you need to know about the market for tomorrow so we could end this week on a green note. But looking at the market for today, there were a handful of stocks that moved in some pretty big ways, and there were some stocks that didn't really move at all. So stick with us all the way until the end. But with that being said, Tom, let's jump right into it.
Yeah, today was a pretty wild day. There was a few stocks out there that had some pretty crazy moves, like with earnings, for example, like AFRM. They had a pretty crazy move this morning, back to the upside. They were up 10%, like coming back up off their earnings moves. And there were a couple stocks that had some crazy runs there. I really liked the movement by SPY today, though. I thought that from open, there was actually some pretty good pressure on the high of day most of the time. There were a couple pullbacks mixed in, but overall, the move up was pretty nice. It did close a little bit higher than average, up 0.58%. So we're looking good there, but we are like right at this 520 to 521 resistance that's overhead. So heading into tomorrow, that's going to be a big area to watch for. But in the short term here, it looks like the market is continuing to soar right back up, Mike. And like you said, like if we go back to the heat map, there was a lot of stocks that moved today. And I would say like the financial sector did very well, like Walmart, Home Depot. Those actually did better than like Google and Microsoft today, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, and just like the chart we talked about in yesterday's video with the Mag 7 stocks really running the show, you could see that, as just the chart shows, the current share that the Mag 7 stocks have in the market is greater than it's been in quite a while. So it's like when you look at some of these big bad tech stocks like Microsoft, Google, Meta, Apple, Nvidia, Amazon, and others, you have to pay attention to them very closely because they have more of an influence on the market right now than they have ever before. And even like on an absolute basis, like when you just look at the stocks like the big tech stocks in general, they really do have a big impact on the market as a whole.
Yeah, they really do, and I really like how the heat map puts a good visualization there because the bigger the box, the more of an impact it has. And you can see like even like Tesla and Exxon have pretty big impacts as well. But you can really see though that like Mike said, those Mag 7s are really where the money is, so to say, in the stock market here. And today, most of them moved higher. It wasn't a ton by any means, but a lot of them had very solid moves. Like looking at Apple, that was a nice 1% day here by a stock that has not had the best moves, over the past few months. It's good to see them starting to recover back up. And over the past few days, they started dipping back down from earnings. Looks like this dip's starting to get bought right back up. So this is looking like a pretty good opportunity in the short term.
Very interesting. We'll have to keep a close eye on it because, like you said, Apple has been one of those stocks over the past couple months and even over the past couple of years that has really lacked that true bullish momentum that it had just a couple of years ago. But either way, we'll keep a close eye on Apple in the short term. But as you'd expect, as another day goes by, Boeing has some more bad press. So, Tom, what is the update for today?
Oh man, today was a double whammy for Boeing. They had not just one, but two bad pieces of press come out. The first one was in Senegal. A 737 actually skidded off the runway and injured some of the passengers. And you can see, look at the wreckage here, guys. Like this was a pretty bad thing that happened. I didn't see a video of this one, but there is actually a video of the next one here. And as you can see here, that is not a very good look for Boeing whenever the plane is skidding across the runway like this with all the sparks and flames coming out. I could only imagine what the other one looked like where the passengers were in it and it caught on fire and got a lot worse. This one got resolved pretty quickly. You can see they started bringing fire trucks in pretty fast there to put it out, but they also had to make an emergency landing. I will say though, Mike, some of these issues with Boeing, I don't even really blame them too much. Like this is like a landing gear failure. I know, of course, it's a Boeing plane, but, who contracted the landing gear, right? Like, why did the hydraulics fail? Why did this fail? Kind of like with the door, they said it wasn't maintained correctly whenever the door flew off a couple months ago. So I don't know, Mike. It's very interesting with Boeing lately, and their stock really didn't take a hit from these, but it's always funny when you see two pieces of bad news in one day by them.
I am actually surprised with how frequent and consistent the bad news is with Boeing. Like, I know everything that comes out isn't their fault, but it's like, I'll tell you, like, it truly is surprising, like, how consistent this barrage of bad news has been. But looking at the stock, ever since the start of 2024, it has been a bloodbath, and it's starting to pop up a little bit right now, but it still has a whole lot of work to do. So it's at the point right now where it's already fallen so much where it's hard to justify shorting it now, but at the same time, you would have to have a lot of courage to go long now, at least in my opinion. So for me, I'm gonna sit on the sidelines with this one, and if the situation like materially changes, then a opportunity might come up with it. But for now, I think the smartest move is no move with this one.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of problems with different airlines starting to like scale back orders of Boeing, and I'm sure that a lot of people are kind of speculating that airlines will continue to do that and maybe ramp it up even more and start to look at other competitors like maybe Airbus, and other jet makers out there. So I'll definitely be having my eyes on Boeing, though. It's always an interesting one, Mike. And in the short term, sometimes the day trading opportunities can be really, really good on Boeing stock. But there was actually some really good news with one of my favorite companies, Mike, and that is Disney. I know Disney just fell a ton on earnings. You can see the big gap on the chart. And WBD had some big news with them as well, where they are going to be doing a partnership to bring multiple streaming services all under one bundle, I guess you could say. So they're bundling these together, Mike. You can get Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max, and it gives you a wide array of different programs, obviously, with those three in the package. So that'll be pretty big, Mike, and I know that Disney plans on doing something with sports as well. So it seems like a pretty good deal to me. I'm surprised that these stocks weren't moving more. Whenever I look at it, WBD did have a pretty good day, though, up 3%.
Yeah, I think the biggest beneficiary from this news will be WBD. This stock has struggled quite a bit over the past couple of years, but it's now to the point where like the valuation is pretty tempting, and the stock is starting to hold up in a decent way off of this news. Like you said, it was up 3% on the day, and by doing a bundle like this, they do have a lot to gain, especially considering how big Disney Plus is. So either way, I think WBD will be worth watching very closely over the next couple months and honestly throughout the rest of this year. It's at a pretty decent valuation, and I think the risk to reward is pretty favorable with this one, assuming someone is willing to give a setup like this one time. Of course, when you have a situation like this, it's not like the stock is going to be up 30% on the day, but it can change direction, so to say. But either way, I'm going to be watching this one in a bullish way throughout the rest of this year.
Yeah, me too. I actually like WBD here down at the bottom. I will say, though, it's been a very bumpy road down. They definitely need some good news like this to really get them out of the shadows. And they did actually have earnings this morning as well. You can see they dipped and then started coming right back up. So it was actually pretty good. They closed up 3% considering the drop off there. That news with Disney and WBD's partnership came out last night. But Mike, there was one more stock today that had some pretty wild movement. That was DJT up 10%. And we don't want to get too deep into this one, but there was actually some insider trading going on, which is not too good. So looks like Bruce Gart, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, Mike. I think I'm going to butcher that one. But either way, this guy, he got charged for insider trading here with this stock. So definitely not a good thing, especially whenever you're getting caught like this. But overall, Mike, I mean, it's just an interesting stock. It's up 10% now. Whenever you go to the daily, DJT is one of the more volatile, wilder stocks out there. For me, it's only really a good opportunity for quick scalps here and there on the crazy news. So with it being up 10%, I figured I'd mention it because, everybody always likes to hear a good insider trading story.
Always. All right. So for tomorrow, most of the earnings are already past us, but what is on the schedule?
Yeah, so for tomorrow, we do have a couple INSE, AMCX. Honestly, Mike, not too much whenever you start to think of most of the bigger stocks that that already reported this week, like ARM, Robinhood, Airbnb, Affirm, Disney, and etc. Like tomorrow's not really too big on the earnings front, but looking at the economic calendar, there is a Bowman speech at 9 a.m. tomorrow, along with Michigan consumer sentiment and a couple other Fed speakers later in the day. So there's quite a bit going on tomorrow, Mike, on the economic side of things. But then again, it's nothing like a inflation report or anything like that.
All right, so we're now clear for the fun stuff for today, which are some setups and predictions for tomorrow. So a stock I'm watching pretty closely is Chewy, and it is to the upside. This stock is at a pretty strong support level, right around this $15 area, so to say. The stock is starting to move up in a pretty good way as it popped up by 6% on the day, and I think the risk reward with this one is pretty awesome in the short term. Someone could set a stop loss right around that, you could say $15 area, or maybe even down to like $14.70 with a potential profit target all the way up to $19. And if you want to get a little bit more risky, even closer to like $21.50. So I really like the risk reward here, and especially the fact that it's starting to actually show some like meaningful moves to the upside. It is pretty interesting, but either way, I will be watching this one to the upside, not only just tomorrow, but even over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, this stock has some pretty good moves every now and again, and it looks like in the short term here, it's been like pretty choppy over the past couple weeks, but these good moves here are really awesome to see. So I really do like this one for a potential breakout in the short term. It's definitely one of the more fun ones that I've been watching over the past couple weeks, Mike, that's for sure. With my first play, I'm looking at CCJ to the upside. I'm looking forward to break above high of day right around 52.30, but CCJ was up 3.3%, had a good day in its own right. Whenever you go to the daily chart with CCJ, they are a uranium stock, and they have been on one hell of a run over the past few years. So I'm really looking for them to break out here and get the new highs again. But the chart is very strong, and it just seems like this stock, Mike, never seems to slow down here in the short term.
Yeah, it has been a powerhouse over the past couple of years. So good stuff there, and yeah, like you said, it's getting pretty close to a ties. So that is awesome. Another stock I'm watching closely is NEM. I talked about GDX to the upside a lot over the past couple of weeks, but basically NEM is a gold mining stock, and GDX and just gold mining stocks in general have been uptrending in a very strong way lately, and this isn't too surprising given gold prices are right around their record high, and have been increasing pretty much weekly. So either way, I'm watching NEM for a potential upside move. While it did have good momentum today, it is also a play for like next week as well. It doesn't have to rise tomorrow, but the inflows to not only this stock specifically, but also all stocks within the industry have been very strong lately.
Yeah, and there was actually a pretty good big money play on this one recently too, with 485,000. Maybe not the biggest big money play ever, but seeing the big money getting into these stocks is a great sign. And that one's out to July, so that would have a little bit of time to it at least, which is good. So maybe check that out if you guys are interested in that too. But Mike, with my next play, I'm looking at Peloton. It's pretty crazy. Peloton has had some speculations or rumors of a potential buyout from some private equity firms that are looking into the business here. So they've been flying up in the short term quite a bit. They were up 13% today. And if we actually go on like a 5-minute chart and we go back to the beginning of this week, take me a second to scroll back here, but the high of day today, it's been up around 30% from like the beginning of the week. So definitely a good move by Peloton with this speculation. You can see it's actually right around the recent high. So if it breaks above $4.50 tomorrow and we see the continued momentum off of this rumor, this could be a really fun one here in the short term. Peloton, especially with its crazy movement, the options tend to go pretty nuts. So definitely watch for the breakout. It has news and it has that momentum behind it.
30% is a pretty big move, and the volume has been pretty strong as well. When we look at Peloton on a like broader chart, this stock is down like 97% from its all-time high in 2021. So to say it's been getting clobbered would be an understatement, but it's starting to finally see the light in the short term. And, maybe if that deal does go through with the private equity firm, then, maybe they can save the company. But at least for short-term purposes, sometimes even though like a stock could have fallen a lot over the course of the past couple of years, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad short-term trade, because what that brings upon is more volatility, just like we've seen in the short term. And when you have more volatility, you see crazier moves in both directions, which, makes up for 30% moves over the course of, a couple days, but it also brings upon very good moves in the options market as well. So there's a lot of craziness going on with Peloton. That's not a bad thing, but just know that the stock is, it moves in a crazier way than most stocks, but keep a close eye on it. And Tom, let's jump right into today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have ExxonMobil to the upside.
Yeah, Exxon actually had a really good day today. If they can break above this resistance here, right around 118.60, then go ahead and look at calls. This 118.50 resistance has been pretty big, so if it can get above here, I think that could be a pretty significant move. All
right, with the next one, we have SLV also to the upside.
Mike, this one was awesome today. 3.65% out of SLV. Who would have guessed, right? If it can break above $25.95 to $26 tomorrow, go ahead and look at calls. And Mike, I don't know if you can do insider trading with silver, but I want to investigate whoever bought these calls the other day.
Yeah, the big money's been on fire with this one. And honestly, even with the Chinese stocks and then a couple other stocks as well. So good stuff there. But with the next momentum play, we have SMH for both directions.
Yeah, SMH was pretty wild today. It's been consolidating over the past few days, and the cool thing about that is it's in a bit of a channel. So if it can break above 222 with some solid momentum, then go ahead and look at calls. But if it ends up falling under 219, then go ahead and look at puts. It's just really stuck in that range right now. Make it really have a good move out of there.
All right, sounds good. So we have the downside level for puts. We have the upside level for calls. That's for SMH. Don't forget about the upside level with SLV and then the upside level with XOM as well. These three stocks are on watch for potential day trades tomorrow if and only if they break through the levels Tom listed. We want to see strong, consistent price action with these stocks. If they do not break the levels Tom listed, then don't feel the need to force the setup. We only want to be taking, the strongest, most consistent setups out there. But those are the momentum plays for today. So let's jump right into today's big money trade. And I don't know if today's trade deserves the big money title because I think this is one of the smallest big money trades that we've covered in a long time, and it is again with ExxonMobil, and basically the big money put around $182,000 into the 120 strike calls that expire on June 14th of 2024. Exxon had a pretty strong day today, and many other stocks in the industry performed pretty well too. But looking at Exxon, it has been trending up pretty consistently ever since the beginning of the year. It pulled back a little bit over the past couple of weeks, but it's been definitely holding up in a strong way. These call options are a little bit out of the money, nothing too crazy, and the expiration is pretty soon, which will make this trade a little bit riskier than usual. The big money only put around $180,000 into the trade as well, so this setup isn't like the craziest setup we've ever seen, but it does have potential if Exxon can start putting some good pressure on its recent highs.
Yeah, and looking at it in the short term here, coming off of that dip, I think it's providing a pretty decent dip buy opportunity in the short term. It's starting to come up really well. There's a good base forming down there. The only thing that does suck right now is that it was up 2% today already, so it's right around resistance. But if it does start to break above this pretty well in the short term, these should do pretty well. So I like it, Mike, as a short-term play, I would say. And heed this, do not over leverage on this one, especially with it being such a short-term expiration and everything. Of course, never over leverage, but just take it pretty light with this one. I think a little bit could go a long way, especially if this dip truly does get bought up. Let's say this gets back up to 121 or 122, these calls will start to do pretty well.
There we go. But before we move on, I want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, I Am Serve, in the Stocked Up trading floor. He had a great post in the Profits channel today, and you've been a great supporter of Stocked Up, and you definitely deserve a giant shout out. So keep up all the great work and keep on rolling.
Yeah, let's go. That's awesome to see today. Nice job with silver. Those big money plays are awesome, and the way silver moved today was great, but let's go. Thanks for always joining the live streams in the morning as well, Serve. I really appreciate you in there, but let's go. Congratulations on the plays today, and let's keep up the great work.
All right. Well, we have one more trading day left for the week, So heading into tomorrow, let's practice smart, sustainable, good, long-term trading habits. Keep the risk management in place. Respect your stop losses. Keep the position sizing reasonable. Follow the money, and let's trade in a smart, disciplined way. The economic schedule isn't anything too crazy for tomorrow, which is a good thing. The market is getting closer and closer to its all-time highs, and again, keep a very close eye on these big tech stocks like Microsoft, Google, Meta, Apple, Nvidia, Amazon, and the others, because they definitely have a giant influence on the market. But besides that, thank you all so much for watching, and let's end this week on a green note.